just like how the other air filter was. Look how much trash is in there. Leaves, everything. I mean, like, look, you can actually take big chunks of debris out. We'll get that in a minute. Okay, hi guys, Sam Dillinger from My Check Engine Light TV, and we are back with episode 3. So this week, we're gonna do some minor maintenance stuff to my wife's car, which is a 2013 Hyundai Veloster with a turbo. You know what that's about. What we're gonna do this week is engine air filter, cabin air filter, and a throttle body service. So we're gonna talk a little bit about each of those items. This is really basic, super easy stuff. You'd be shocked at how much it costs. Actually, probably a lot of you wouldn't be shocked at how much it costs to have it done. You'd be shocked at how much money you can save by doing it yourself. Let's start with a little bit of information about the first thing we're gonna do, which is the engine air filter. The reason why this is so important is because dust, sand, I live in Florida, so there's sand everywhere. Fine particulate matter, if you don't have this air filter, or if it gets clogged, it can start putting through this fine particulate matter into your engine. Once it goes into the intake, it can get into the combustion chamber. From there, it can get into the oiling system. Then you can have problems with crankshaft bearings, camshaft bearings. On my car being a turbo, it can wipe out a turbo. Too much dirt or sand, really bad for a turbo. Honestly, if you have too much, you can actually destroy your engine. So for as cheap as this is, it's really important to stay on top of this. All right, I'm gonna take this one apart first, and then I'm gonna show you the difference and why we're changing it. So this is actually maybe even a couple more steps than what a lot of engines would be. I guess I should probably say that too. This stuff, it's not gonna be exactly the same on your car unless you happen to have one of these, but it'll be relatively the same. Most new cars on the road, actually for quite a long time, most cars have a cabin air filter. A lot of people don't even know that, but all cars have an engine air filter. Why are you doing it? Stay there. So it's not gonna be exactly the same steps, but relatively. All right, this one, we have to take these hoses off. So you can see there's just a little clamp right here. We're just gonna move that clamp out of the way a little bit, and there's a clamp right here. Same thing, just gonna move that guy out of the way a little bit. Then this thing's gonna make me look weak. Oh, there we go. And this one. And if those get stuck, or if they're hard to pull off, it's okay to use some pliers and just, hey, get back here. Traitor. It's okay to just use some pliers, and that will actually break the rubber free from the plastic. And then if it's still stuck a little bit, just use your screwdriver and push it right off. So there's just 2 clips right there, real easy, just pop them off. And now you can see the air filter exposed. So let's actually take a look at that. And you can see in here, really open it up, you can see there's a ton of debris and other nastiness in there. And now we'll take a look at what a new one looks like. Obviously, you can see the difference is significant. Okay, for now though, we're gonna set this aside because what we're gonna do, like I said, is a throttle body service, and we need to get this housing out of the way to give us access to reach it. So, actually, we can just get rid of that guy because you're never coming back. There are 3 bolts here that hold this housing right here in. And actually, it's not a terrible idea. You can see there's some leaves and stuff in there, so it's not a terrible idea if you can get to everything easily. Just take the bolts out and dump the housing out. That'll get the rest of the sand and leaves and stuff like that out. So we're gonna take these 3 bolts out here. There's 1, 2, Whoa, that was close. All right, there's one bolt. And sometimes if you have great big meat hands like me, it can be hard to get into these things. So on just a little pocket screwdriver or a little magnet, something like that, you can reach right in there and get to it. This thing is a lifesaver. I think it's like $1. They sell them lots of places, probably parts stores would be your easiest bet. So then we just pull that out. And like I said, you can see how you can see that. Yeah, you can see there's a ton of junk in there. So I'm just gonna release all of that back into the wild. There we go. Next, this is a really weird thing. You guys got to take a look at this thing. I saw this earlier, had no idea what it was. There is a cap on this screw right here. I thought that it was something that I couldn't get into, but it's actually just a cap. So you just have to be careful, because if it pops off too far, it is going to be gone forever. But that's all. It just pops off, and then you can see that opens up the bolt. So now, just loosen that up. And then same thing as the other hoses. You just kind of work it a little bit, and there you go. Now you can see the throttle body right there, which is absolutely filthy. Okay, good. It's good that we're doing this then. Okay, we're going to start with a lint-free cloth. That's important. You don't really want to leave any residue in the throttle body. By residue, I mean like particulate filter stuff. So just regular throttle body cleaner. It's not anything special. One thing I will say though, this stuff's really caustic. Be careful with it. So use the straw. Yeah, right. Master mechanic. Sure. Can't even put a straw in this thing. There we go. Okay. And the wind is blowing around. I don't know. Just keep it away from your face. That's the important thing. And now we have that on there. So we're going to come in here to the throttle body, and I'm going to kind of try and stay out of the way at the same time as doing this. So we're going to clean off all of this stuff here. And you can see it's already starting to get a little cleaner. And then we'll open up the throttle valve, which is that. It's actually called a butterfly plate because it goes back and forth, and you can hear the gear. That's an electronic throttle control. So we'll hold that open, clean the top. See how much stuff we're getting out of there? And now we'll try and get all of my fingers in there, because it's always a good idea. And we're going to clean the bottom. I think that's actually pretty clean, but what we're going to do is apply a little bit more. Stuff dries out kind of quick, actually. Like, brake cleaner dries out faster, but believe it or not, this stuff doesn't stay around for very long either. So put a little bit more on there, and we're going to make sure that we got all of that carbon. All right, and so you can see from the last time that I did it, it's starting to come out a little bit cleaner. So now we'll just use one more just that's dry. And we're just gonna wipe off any of the rest of the residue, anything like that. Get all of that out of there, and we're good. So the reason why cleaning the throttle body is important, on top of just getting any sand or particulate matter out of there, getting the carbon off of there. Because when your throttle plate comes to a rest like that, the butterfly valve that I showed you, when that comes to a rest, if there's a carbon buildup there, it won't be able to breathe correctly. And that's important for when you're idling, because it actually doesn't come completely flat like this. It'll actually sit about like that, so that there's some air that can come in, because if your engine can't breathe, it's not going to run at all. So when you get a carbon buildup around there, when it gets to be significant enough, you'll be coming to a stop, you'll slow down, the engine will idle down, and it'll just stall. Or it'll have trouble starting sometimes. You can cause a lot of performance issues, including high idle, different things like that. So it's really important to keep that clean. Now, when you go to a shop, a throttle body cleaning, it's like $150. This can, I think, cost me $8. And the rags, honestly, I don't even remember. I've had them for a few years. Don't use them much. So for, I don't know, $15, $20, something like that, you can save yourself over $100. You can see that's not a difficult thing to do. And now that's going to be good for probably another 30,000 miles or so, maybe 20, something like that. But either way, you got a good long ways to go, and you save yourself over $100 with, I don't know, 15 minutes worth of work. So that's why I wanted to show you that in particular. Now we're going to put the air filter housing back together and talk a little bit about that too. Okay, we're going to put the air filter housing back in. So you see here, this is actually the air inlet for the air filter into the throttle body system. There's just a tube here that just sits right in it. It's not a real big deal. More importantly, even more importantly than that is that we should really put the throttle body hose back on if we ever want this to work correctly again. So there's that. Now we'll just tighten this down. Can't believe I'm doing this left-handed and it hasn't fallen off yet. This has got to be like a record for me. Oh, yeah, see, that's what happens when you start getting cocky. Okay, and this, being a turbo in particular, it's super important to make sure that that hose going under your throttle body is tight, like tight. If that falls off, it's bad. You're not going to crash or anything like that, but your RPMs will instantly jump way up, and you'll bypass like the air intake temperature sensor or mass airflow sensor on some cars, stuff like that. And you're going to have performance problems pretty much immediately. So make sure you get that tight. Oh, right. Now we'll just slide this housing back into here. Actually, look, you guys can see right here. This is the air intake that I was talking about. Most of them go into like underneath the headlights, into the fender well, stuff like that. So this will just slide back into there. I can't believe that actually slid into there just like that. Normally that stuff never happens to me, you guys. Okay, one of the things that I wanted to show you, this is kind of a cool mechanic trick that someone taught me years and years and years ago. These bolts here on top, really pretty easy to reach. You can see, obviously, even with my great big hand, it's going to fit right in there. But these other two over here, those are a problem. And trying to reach in there with just your hand, and you're trying to hold the bolt like this or like this, and even as I'm just standing here, this is a very tenuous grasp. You're probably going to drop it. So what we can do is get a little piece of paper. You don't even need much, just a little shred. And where'd it go? Oh, there it goes. All right. So we'll just use that to take up the space. And now it's not coming out of there. So we can use that to put that bolt right down in there. And then the paper stays with the socket. So that's a really easy, just cool little trick that someone showed me forever ago to get bolts into tough spots like that that you're not really going to be able to reach with your hands. And you can see they use the same piece of paper again. Okay, hold on a second. Maybe now I should get a new piece of paper. Should know better than to do that. Anytime that you start showing off, that's when things like that happen. Right? Okay. Yeah, okay. Stop it. There we go. Okay. Now, it's pretty much just reverse procedure. At this point, we're going to tighten up these 3 bolts. And there we go. All right, so that's those. Now we'll get out the new air filter. These things are impossible to put in wrong. Like, you're just not going to be able to do it. I mean, obviously by the shape, but also the depth of it, you're not going to be able to get it wrong. That just pops right into there. And then there's 2 tabs right here that sit right there. So, as you would imagine, you want to slide those right in and pop those clips on. Now, we just got to put these hoses back. Wait, first, I'm actually just going to put this little cap back on here. I really don't know what that cap is for. The only thing that I can assume is that it's there to keep the bolt from backing off, but I don't really know how that would help. So there's those. And then same thing as before with the other tube. You want to make sure that these clamps are back on. These ones would cause less problems than if their throttle body hose came off, but same thing. You don't want any air getting into your engine system through an avenue that it's not supposed to be. That's not a vacuum leak, but there are quite a few things like that that could be vacuum leaks. So anytime you take a hose off, just make sure you put it back. And that's it for the air filter and throttle body service. We're going to move inside the car and talk about the cabin air filter. Okay, so we're going to talk about and replace the cabin air filter. What this does, it sits in the fresh air intake stream that comes into your car. So people worry about pollution and things like that. That's what this is for. This is actually like a pollution filter to keep the air that you breathe inside of the car clean. And that becomes even more important because a lot of folks don't realize that when you have your air conditioning on and it's hot out, or if you live up north and it's cold, you have the recirc on. What that means is that all of the air inside of the car just recirculates inside of the car. For the AC, it helps it get colder. For the heat, obviously, it does the reverse. It's not completely sealed because of the airbags and things like that. It can't be a completely sealed vessel, but it does seal off relatively well. And so the air that comes in needs to be clean, right? That's where this guy comes in. It sits in right in the airflow so that the air that enters your vehicle to go through the blower system has to go through this guy. You would never know it's there. And you would think, based on the price, that it's a difficult thing to do. It's really not. Most shops that I've ever seen, it's at least $100 for this repair. That filter, I think, was 13 bucks, something like that. I'm going to show you in just a couple of minutes how easy it is to change. So we're going to start by opening up the glove box, and you'll see there's just little tabs here. It's really awesome on this car. These things actually come right out. A lot of cars, you have to like try and fold this thing in and disconnect a bunch of things. It's not very easy. This one, they actually just pop right out, which I think is just an awesome design. So, and then down here, this is like a little shock absorber right here. So we're just gonna take that guy off. And then back in here where you can't see, there are pins. That was a nice catch. There are pins that hold the glove box on. So we're just gonna gently remove that. There we go. And there is the glove box. Set that there. If you're gonna do something like that, if you're gonna set it down, put it on this part. Doesn't matter if that gets scratched. You will see a scratch on here for sure. So we'll put that there, and I'm gonna get out of the way and let you guys see all in here. And there's actually right there, actually I'm gonna take this off. Can you see my hands there? So this is the cover, and right here it says cover filter. It says up, but you'll see right there it says filter. I hope you can see that, and right there it says up. And the reason why I point that out is because sometimes the cover is actually kind of incognito. Some of them it's blatantly obvious that there's a big square cover right there that pops right off. This one kind of blends in a little bit, so if you look for it, you'll probably need a flashlight, but if you look for it, you'll see where it says filter, and it'll say the direction of the airflow. Okay, here we have a much better angle. You can see the housing there. Obviously, this is the filter, and here's what we're looking at. Just like how the other air filter was. Look how much trash is in there. Leaves, everything. I mean, like, look, you can actually take big chunks of debris out. You don't want to be breathing this stuff. So that's why this is so important. It really cleans a lot of this out. So we're going to get this out of the way. Get the new one out. It actually even comes with instructions. Never seen that before. All right. Here is the important piece. Airflow. So you got to have it pointed up. And it just slides right back in there. And that's what it looks like when it's seated in there correctly. Now you can see we're going to put that in there, and hopefully, if I'm going to do this right, yeah, there we go. It literally just clicks back into place, and that's what the cover looks like. Now it's just reverse procedure. So we'll come back over here and get these pins. So we're going to try it. Nice. That wasn't even easier than I expected. Okay. Let's see if this one wants to do the same thing. Oh, let's go. Come on, you can do it. Okay, finally got that thing in there. All right, and then just that, clip that guy back on. Get these things. Now this is important. When you put this back on here, it goes in and twists in and locks, but you can't put it in now. So you'll have to put it in once it's up far enough, and then it'll work like it's supposed to. And then we'll put this other one back in over here. There we go. And just like that, cabin air filter is done. You see, that only took, I mean, like in all actuality, like, I don't know, probably less than actual 15 minutes. Even struggling putting that clip back in still only took me about 15 minutes. And that's important because, like I said, most of the shops that I'm aware of, it's like $99.99 to go and get that filter replaced. And at the parts store, 15 bucks, 12 bucks, something like that. It's crazy cheap. So that's the main thing, like I told you before. That's the main thing that we're here for. I want to show you how you can save yourself a lot of money on really minor repairs like that. You just don't need to go to somebody. It's not that difficult. It's not scary. You're not gonna break your car. You're not gonna disable it. It's really pretty simple to save yourself hundreds of dollars. That's pretty much what we have for today, guys. Like I said, very basic, very simple maintenance, but overall, we saved almost $200 on just these couple of minor things. Actually, no, more than that, like $250. Anyways, we'll be back next week. Make sure you come back and check us out, and also come to the website. Being as how it's almost the holidays, we're going to have a lot of deals on memberships and Skype calls on the website this month. So make sure that you come and see us at mycheckenginelight.com. Definitely come and subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Facebook and on Instagram, because we're going to be having some giveaways that are only for people on social media. I mentioned it in the last video. No, not the last video, the first video, that we're going to be having a giveaway for a scanner. That's probably going to be year end, possibly beginning of January. It's a really nice tool. It's like a $500 tool, but it's going to be the scanner, and we'll also have gift cards for second and third place. A couple $100s in value for each. So make sure you come and check us out, guys. You're not going to want to miss this.